one of my favorite slides that we use when we're doing workshops or design processes with people says, design is not linear and people are not linear. And that is very much the truth for the origin story at DSIL. Was not linear. And it also came from a new perspective. So this was about 6 years ago. Our co-founders were working on really different things, and I don't think that we would have necessarily called ourselves designers, although we were very much designing things. I was working in Cambodia, working with Khmer and Vietnamese youth for long periods of time, designing experiences where they would, really truly transform transgenerational healing from genocide. And my other co-founder was working, teaching Japanese youth what innovation meant, but beyond that, what it meant to be able to lead it, who you needed to be to do that. And so international development became kind of and made sense to start there, to start to bring design thinking or human-centered design into that space, because these places were trying to connect with people unlike them, with people experiencing the challenges naturally. Yet they were still falling into this old way of designing solutions for people and not with them, which is colonialist. And it's something that all three of us, weren't proud of. And we knew that the international development world, although every sector has its challenges, could do better. So we chose to start there. And what we found was a lot of things. One, that yes, design is not linear. Of course, Stanford had that great model in the beginning where it was, start with empathy and end with testing. And we now know that empathy is throughout the way the designer approaches these kind of conversations. And the more we bring a user or human into the design process, the better. And we just kept really pushing that. What does it look like to continue to bring people with us on design? And then not only with us, but expand just how many people. So the more the better is what we say. Bring your friends, make it more complex, bring the people who disagree with you, the more the better, because at the end of the day, the more complexity you can allow in, the less the less hollow the solution. And we've even moved beyond sustainability a bit, if I'm honest, because every solution stops working. So then you see these new models where they're circular and you can understand, and hopefully communities or societies can understand when a solution stops working and kick back into a design cycle where we need to. Maybe we need more ideas now. Maybe we need to focus on a different problem statement now because the old one is either resolved or has changed totally. And so, and it seems important that I think something we're not talking about in the design world is expanding what expert means. And I don't think that we need just expert designers at the table anymore. I think expert designers need to change the way that they engage with the work. I think there's these elements of intuition, somatic memory, visceral experiences, the ability to listen, the ability to guide groups through telling true stories, build relationships along the way. I think design has so much potential, but if we stay put in this kind of mindsets around linearity and also who's at the table, we're limiting the potential of design. And I think it's frustrated me with my own, work and with our company, that when we say design thinking, we mean it. We mean that there's this process of embracing ambiguity and moving through it together. And sometimes those steps are super helpful to help us get there. But if we don't expand the table and we think that designers trump all and we keep designing for people and not with people, especially in the international development world, all we're doing is reiterating, old habits in the same way, old neocolonial habits in the same way, but now we're calling it design instead of taking someone's land or deciding how we're going to distribute food or, and there's kind of no voice from that end. And I think maybe the last thing that feels really important to say on my heart now about this is that you don't just expand the design table because everyone is an expert of their own experience or because, communities understand their challenges a lot more than you think, even though they might not really know the solution. I don't know the solution to many of my challenges. That's why I still have them. But also because they're brilliant, because they bring new lenses. And I've said this before, I'll say it again and again. Innovation comes from diversity. Innovation comes from different kinds of people, you know, disagreeing at the table and seeing what comes in, like, from the center of that. And we did this project with UNICEF in Thailand around sexuality, redesigning sexuality education, and just an amazing process to see not only, you know, the kind of spirit they bring to design, but also the wisdom that comes from youth in so many ways. Also their design skills, the actual physical prototypes were beautiful, but also the design process they followed and the understanding from which it came from was more intuitive than I've seen from working from some of the best design, you know, companies in the world. And so I think that the work now is to decolonialize design. And I think the work now is to, for designers, especially those who have been trained, to start to look at the next evolution. And maybe the easiest step into that is circularity, which I'll talk about next time. Maybe that's a step in, but even that's been around for a long time. So just want to always be really careful that we are, people are not linear, design is not linear, and the next evolution of it is going to be, is happening and is really exciting.